Dr. 𝗪𝗓𝗔𝗪, in this respect, so you welcome the progress which hopefully will be made in Astana in the next days.
I think progress there is the prerequisite for a further solution.
One of the concerns
it will have to include the United States.
Yeah, and it has to include Europe. And in this respect, one of the major fears during the last days, based on some remarks and some actions of the new president, was a weakening of the transatlantic partnership, which has been so much a key element of our world order. Do you see this partnership threatened? And what would be, I come back to this, what would be your advice on the one hand to the Europeans, on the other hand to the new American president in order to safeguard this partnership? And how much is this partnership still important in a multipolar world?
One of the great contributions of statesmanship at the end of the Second World War was the creation of the Atlantic Partnership, because it reflected the reality that neither Europe nor the United States would by themselves be able to bring about a solution of the chaos that had been created in the Second World War. It was a major contribution by the United States to give up its historic isolation. And it was a major contribution of Europe to abandon the historic competition between its states for a concept of European unity. Those moral and psychological elements are in many respects even more important today than they were then, because now we need a concept of world order that is, for the first time in history, that all parts of the world can directly affect all other parts, and that order can arise only if concepts develop which are held simultaneously by the key actors, at least by those key actors that can disturb the equilibrium. So I believe the Atlantic Partnership is of great consequence, because otherwise the Atlantic region would fall into the kind of competition that used to characterize Europe. The second question, though, is how is that now to be implemented? So I disagree with the challenges to the importance of the partnership. I do not think it is obsolete. I think it is vital. But what needs to be re-examined is the relevance of the institutions of 50 years ago to the problems of the current period. Not the importance of these institutions, but how an Atlantic Partnership would operate in the face of challenges that are entirely new and that now no longer embrace only the Atlantic region, but the evolution of the whole world. That is an important task. That is a principal task. And it would require both sides. The United States entered that Atlantic Partnership from a position of predominance. and therefore its habit of thinking was the technical solution of immediate problems. The Europeans at the beginning were still driven by their historic attitudes of their significant role, but as time went on, they have deferred the technical tasks too much to the United States. So I believe an Atlantic partnership needs to be reconstructed, but with the attitude that it is the key element of both American and European policy.
In this respect, many participants were concerned about the weakening of Europe, particularly with Brexit, and not being able, even if there would be a commitment from both sides to the partnership, that Europe does not provide any more the strength which is necessary to be a key pillar. How do you feel about the present situation of Europe, particularly after the Brexit decision?
Originally, when the concept of Brexit came up, I had the traditional view that it would be an unfortunate outcome. As I reflected on it further, and particularly about the role of Europe in the history of the last decades, I came to the view that the big hole in the international system has been the reluctance of Europe to go beyond soft power in its commitment, and the tendency to identify Europe with the expansion or extension of bureaucratic, centralized power. So I could imagine that Brexit will be used in a creative way, not to see how to minimize the damage, but how to create a new role for Europe and America in the Atlantic Partnership. And that could take the following form. It could seek to address the problem that some of the key issues in Europe, for Europe, such as the economy and security, are very difficult to solve in a forum in which unanimity is the absolute requirement. And I have wondered whether it would not be possible, while maintaining the existing structure of Europe, to create within subgroups on finance and security, in which decisions could be made on the basis of a maybe an influence of the countries that will have to carry the greatest burden in these issues, especially in security and in finance, to prevent the recurrence of economic crisis caused by the unwillingness to meet the stated goals. In such a system, Britain could re-enter Europe as part of these groups, and it could also perform a function in linking Europe and America. I'm not saying that I have a detailed plan for this. I am suggesting that we need to find a solution in which the Atlantic region can act with the same moral conviction as it did in the early stages of the Atlantic Alliance, but which reflects the new distribution of power that has emerged and addresses the problems that one could not even imagine when the Atlantic region was formed. And if our new president gives an impetus to this kind of dialogue and withdraws the threat of an American withdrawal, which I do not believe is feasible or desirable, then we might have a new period in which the Atlantic region could contribute to the structure of the world, of which President Xi has given us an Asian vision.
Dr. Kissinger, our satellite time is running out. What wonderful opportunity to conclude our week here with such concrete proposals and ideas of how we can really create, I would say, a new world order. And I feel we should be very grateful to you, Henry, for taking the time at a very important day in the United States to be, at least digitally, with us. And on behalf of all those sitting here in the room, I would like to thank you very much. I would like to thank you personally also for the 50-year-long mentorship and all the advice you have given me. Thank you, and we appreciate it very much. Please join me.
Thank you,